How's it going, everybody? My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Bushradical. So summer's wrapping up here in Alaska. I'm gonna head back to Michigan here in a very short amount of time. I've got to get a roof on this cabin, and as you can see, I've got 3 rafters up, 3 sets of rafters. I've got most of the front wall filled in, and what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to be busy putting up rafters and roofing this place. But let me show you around and you can get an idea of how far the project has come since I last checked in. It's only a couple days worth of work, but it's a couple days that I've been putting off for a long time. As you can see, I've got all of the floor joists put in. The floor joists are just 8-inch logs. I showed in another video how I drug those to the site. I actually had to peel them because it's so late in the year that the bark isn't popping off anymore, which is a problem. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to finish this project next year. You can see the rafters are sitting on the plate. They're all nailed off. I need to make sure they're plumb before I get too much farther along. Now this small opening right here is going to be where the chimney passes through. It's going to go up from the stove, make a 90 out through the wall, and then come up. There's another angle. You can see all the floor joists. Now these floor joists were about 300 pounds a piece. They were all you could handle. I could lift one end up, get it on the floor, slide them across, and like I showed in the previous video, I lifted all these up with a rope. And now you can check that video out and see how that was done. Now the sheeting that goes on the gable end of this wall, right now I'm using as a scaffold platform. If you look here where it's nailed off at the end, this 2x6 is log screwed into the wall, and then the 2x4s are nailed down to it, and the OSB is sitting on top of that. Makes a good sturdy platform. It's all nailed off. It's not going anywhere. Sure is nice to see a roof going on. You can see here I take each individual rafter and I stuff it up in there. There's another one over here waiting to go on. And then I nail the peaks together with a gusset. Then I stand the whole thing up. I nail off one end, I nail off the other end, and then I tack it. Let me show you. Pretty much it. Nail off both ends. It's good to go. I've got this pile of gussets. Now these were all cut. They're 12-12 pitch. And they just nail right onto the peak once the 2 rafters are joined together. I'm using a cut off piece of log here so I can keep both the rafters up so they're fairly level when I nail them off. Now, the first thing I do when I put these together is I make sure that that peak cut is nice and flush one side to the next. That's pretty close right there. I take a spike and I drive it through the peak to hold the peaks true. Beauty. Then I throw on my gusset. I'm using 1 3/4 galvies for this gusset. And the reason being is so they don't go all the way through to the other side. 1/2 inch plywood, 1.5 inch, 2x8 rafter. Also, when this roof is all done, I will probably throw a gusset on the other side. It really doesn't need it because all the 1x4s on the roof are going to hold everything together tight, but I may do it anyway. Once I get one side of this nailed off, I look up the middle to make sure it hasn't spread. That's still pretty good. You can also tap this gusset to make sure that the bottom of that V is together. And then just take the other side and then nail the whole thing off. Beauty. Well, just like a nursery rhyme or a worn out blues song, the second verse is exactly the same as the first. I just do this over and over and over until I get to the end. So this is kind of the process, and once I get all these up, I'm going to fill in the gable walls with studs. Then it's going to be ready to be sheeted. And once it's sheeted, I'll nail off all the studs, and that's ready for all the 1x4s. Do all the 1x4s on the roof, trim the ends off the 1x4s. And then I've got this fascia pattern I've been putting on every house I've built for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. And the fascia pattern is kind of a Scandinavian scroll. I have to cut all that. I'm going to put a 1x4 backer on that, then it gets hung on the gable ends and it gets hung across the front. I'm not going to do anything on the back of the house because next year I'm going to take part of that roof metal off and I'm going to build a porch, which is kind of like a Cape Cod style house where you got a roof and then you got a long porch with an open porch under it. So that's pretty much the process. I'll get back to you guys when things change and I'm on to something else. Thanks for watching Bushradical. Be radical, eh? See you soon.